Welcome to another episode of OG55. I got Mr. Webba in the house with me today. We are reacting to friend of the channel, Drew the Disney Dude. He recently dropped a great video on the Big Thunder changes over there at Magic Kingdom, as well as the Buzz Lightyear attraction changes. We're also going to talk about, speaking of Tomorrowland, the Tomorrowland that we were supposed to get a few years ago here in Anaheim that was scrapped. We're going to talk about that. We got a lot to discuss here. I got Mr. Webba in the house on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. I got Mr. Webba in the house with me today. We're talking East Coast. We're talking West Coast. Webba, welcome back, sir.
OG, thank you so much for having me on today's episode. Yeah, this is gonna be fun because we are gonna be talking about both coasts, and a lot of exciting stuff coming and something interesting with that Tomorrowland discussion, as always, right? You know what I mean? But again, OG, go ahead.
The Tomorrowland thing is gonna be kind of crazy. We'll talk about it, but go ahead. I'm sorry, brother.
No, absolutely. But again, thank you so much for having me on. Again, I really love discussing this with you and everybody else. So much fun. But yeah, you can find me on all social media platforms at Mr. Webba 91 and right here on OG 55.
55. All right, here we go. We're gonna start off with Mr. Drew, the Disney Dude, who is the absolute GOAT. Not only as a content creator, but just as a person. I love Drew, the Disney Dude. He's been on the channel many times. Nerding out and all that stuff. But he released a great video the other day about the Magic Kingdom ride upgrades. We're talking Big Thunder and we're talking Buzz Lightyear. So this is about a 10-minute video-ish, 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're going to do like we always do here at Webba. We're going to play the video. We'll stop along the way, break it down, talk about it. Let's get it.
And real quick, OG, before you start,
Sure.
I just want to say, Drew's a great guy. And also, too, I love his passion as a fan for Disney and the parks. It's incredible. I love it,
Oh no, me too. I love that. I mean, Drew the Disney Dude, his enthusiasm is contagious, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I love what he brings to the table. And he's also honest. That enthusiasm dips into his critiques where he's like, hey, you know what? Maybe they didn't do so great here, but over here it worked out really well. He's really fair. I love that about Drew.
Yep.
And yeah, so here we go. We got another banger video from Drew about Buzz Lightyear and Big Thunder. Let's go.
Attractions are about to reopen at Magic Kingdom, and today we have brand new details on both. What's up, YouTube? Drew here. Today we need to dive into our first look inside Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin reopening this spring at Magic Kingdom, alongside some brand new details for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad's massive refurbishment. With that being said, let's get to it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, as we're on the road to 25,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. As I cover everything in the world of Disney parks.
Drew is absolutely crushing it. Right now he's got 12K subs. And like you said, let's double that number. Drew is the content he makes is absolutely insane and really good. And if you're a Disney nerd, I mean, come on, you got to be following Drew. So everybody at home, if you are not, because I know we do have a lot of Disneyland people out here.
Yeah,
the OG55 family. Drew covers a lot of Walt Disney World, but he also does cover Disneyland too. So make sure you subscribe to him and show him all that love. And when you check out his videos, make sure you smash that like button.
For all of you guys, the best thing that you can do is subscribe to support the channel. Now, I want to start off with Big Thunder Mountain because I feel like so many people are excited for the updates to this beloved classic, and rightfully so. Big Thunder is a perfect attraction at Magic Kingdom and is surrounded by construction right now, but just the fact that this is the biggest update in this ride's history, and the news we got today came out of left field. I had no clue this was happening, so safe to say when I woke up and saw that GMA had shared a story on it, it's time to cover it. So I really want to dive into everything that was said, go deeper than the surface level, and break down everything for all of you. We've known for a while now that the major update behind This refurbishment is the full track replacement. The old track was ripped out and has since been destroyed, and for months, piece by piece, the new track was installed. In recent months, we've seen the ride vehicles test with water dummies throughout the day, so it is no shock that this one's about to reopen. Disney has even confirmed that, and it's in the final stages, the finishing.
And look, here's the thing too, right? I know like new track isn't like necessarily like the sexiest thing in terms of like, you know, the fandom, right? I understand that, but it is so important because when you rip out that old track and you replace it with that new track, it increases the longevity of this attraction for generations to come, you know,
Yes.
and that is super important. And honestly, it's encouraging that because look, a lot of change has been occurring at the Magic Kingdom. We have a whole new kind of direction with Frontierland, with the Cars area coming in. We got Villains Land. You know, they got rid of the Rivers of America, which was, you know, pretty controversial for a lot of people. And, you know, the fact that they're doubling and tripling down on Big Thunder and they're like, you know what, we're really investing heavily into this classic attraction. I think a lot can be said about that. You know, a lot of Disney fans, they like to complain or they like to criticize the company, but when they do really good stuff, sometimes it gets kind of unnoticed and people aren't as loud about it, unfortunately. But the track replacement is a huge deal and signals Disney's commitment to Big Thunder for years and years to come. So that's encouraging. And again, it's something that's not guaranteed. You know, the Rivers of America has been removed. So they didn't have to keep Big Thunder. It could have been, you know, it could have been on the chopping block too, but they didn't. And not only are we keeping it, but we're getting updates. So
yes. Well, with the track, I mean, another thing to think about as well is that, you know, there's only so many times you can replace the system of which the vehicle rides on, right? I mean, because again, you know, like I know the track itself, you know, yes, there's some mechanical parts in it, but you know, these tracks are exposed in the rain. There's probably dirt and muck and just kind of decay over time that these trains are constantly going over. So yeah, so over time, these things are going to degrade, and also for safety purposes, you want a whole new track. So even though it doesn't sound like a big deal, it's a very big deal because now you're going to have like you said, a fresh track that's up to date. It's going to last a very long time, you know, until like 20 years later or 15 years later when they have to replace it again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how long they do like how long they go till they do replace it, but you know, having that as part of the major refurb is a great thing. I love to hear when we get like new tracks.
Yeah, no, me too. Absolutely. And, you know, they might as well call it, you know, Outcast Mountain because this thing is going to be so fresh and so clean, Eva. You know what I'm saying?
Outcast Mountain.
Touches are being put on the ride as it goes through its test and adjust period to get everything perfect before it does reopen very soon. Also, the fact that something that's kind of been overlooked is that the scene that's being updated at the beginning of the ride is a direct callback to the name Big Thunder Mountain, because as we enter the Rainbow Caverns with all of the bats, it's going to look beautiful at first, but as we enter the scene and Big Thunder detects us there, it does not like that, as it's trying to protect its natural gold, its natural resources, and it views us as a threat at the mountain. It does not want us there. So we're going to hear a giant crack of thunder signaling we're not welcomed and we need to get out of there as we head up the lift hill and then enter the actual coaster outdoors. So I feel like that's kind of being overlooked.
I got you.
I just think it's really fun.
So again, with Imagineering, I really love this because, well, first of all, that first scene, at least over here in Disneyland, is really great. I love the bats, but also I love like you know the colorful rainbow pools we have in the water. But I love this addition to their Thunder Mountain because it really they're telling or they're implementing more of a story within their Thunder Mountain without using words, right? Like, yes, I know we're getting a kind of like a description here, but like, hey, bam, there's a clap of thunder, right? Things are going south. This does kind of still lead into the supernatural, like, you know, runaway haunted mine train, you know. So I really like that aspect, and I think it's going to be cool. Like the special effects on this will probably be really cool. You know, new lighting, better sound. You know, so I like that. I like this addition straight from the get-go at the beginning of the ride. I think that's gonna be cool. Like really cool.
I completely agree with you, and I like what you mentioned early on, Webba, where you said their story, but they're not telling you the story. They're showing you the story.
Yes.
And I think that is so important. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be exceptions to that rule and what have you. I understand, but I mean, there are shades of gray with a lot of this stuff, nuance, right? But most of the time, it's usually better when it comes to these attractions. It's better to show the story than it is to tell the story. See, that's actually one of the big complaints I have with the Nemo submarine voyage. It's a lot of telling you, where's Nemo? Nemo, where are you, Nemo? And it gets a little bit like they're trying too hard. So I like what you were saying with this Big Thunder thing, where it's like, you know what? It's there. The story's there, but it's subtle. And it's, you know what I'm saying? I love that.
Yes.
And I think that makes a huge impact.
No, I agree.
Diving into this attraction's name and making the story a lot more thought out. Now, that does also tie into something new that I want to talk about now, which was just revealed about these updates and some things that we hadn't known before about really how much they're diving into this storyline. We are going to see gold throughout the mountain for the first time ever. So some brand new props to look forward to and keep an eye out for as you're going on the ride once it reopens. I'm always a big fan of when we actually get new props to where, yes, the new ride vehicles are.
Yeah, I'm very curious when he says new gold, right? I'm sure we'll get like, you know, maybe just piles of gold coins or something like that too. I'm not really sure. Not gold coins, but like chunks of gold, right? Like gold rushy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I wonder if, because at Tiana's Bayou Adventure out here in California, when you go through the tunnel, right before you kind of get right when you turn that corner, like right when you're like almost to the log, they have like that little shimmer of like the salt in the cave. I wonder if Disney's going to add maybe like a similar effect with this Big Thunder, where you have like certain parts of the mountain when the light hits it, you can kind of see the gold like kind of shimmering off the mountain. I think that'd be kind of a cool little effect. You don't want to overdo it, but like here and there would be kind of cool. So we'll kind of see what they do, but I don't know. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
I mean, from what it sounds like, from what Drew's saying, it sounds like we're going to get like actual physical pieces of gold, whether that's coins or like gold nuggets. Now, either way, I like it because, again, it's a show. You're showing, but you're not telling.
Yes.
You know, so again,
exactly.
You're adding more into the story of what this whole thing is, you know, and it's great. You know, it's a great addition. And I'm very curious to see what else that they're going to add. You know, which Drew is going to tell us here. But yeah, so far, great updates.
Yep, 100%.
Fantastic. The new track is fantastic. I love the fact that it even got a fresh coat of paint throughout.
And also another thing I do want to add, we have to also give Disney credit for not inserting an IP with this update, which they could have easily have done.
Good point. Good point. Yes, exactly.
We could have got it. We could have got an IP infusion to justify. You know, a lot of times with this IP stuff, it's done to reduce risk and to kind of get a little more ROI, return on that investment, right? With Big Thunder, they could have done that, right? They could have put maybe Coco in there or something. I mean, I don't know, but they didn't. All they're doing is they're taking Big Thunder and they're plussing the classic attraction. So again, you know, big sigh of relief on that. And while we're not necessarily getting new attractions from like the ground up that are not connected to IP, it's nice to see Disney updating the non-IP attractions and not always adding that IP into that. So it's kind of refreshing.
Yes, I agree. Well, I mean, they did that with our Haunted Mansion too. You know, when that just went down for refurb with the new queue line, ADA access, and the new bride, right? So with that, they didn't add anything from like the movies. You know, they still kept everything, you know, original input. You know, and that's what I like to see, right? You're plussing the attraction in special ways that makes it the ride feel the way it does, but you're just kind of upgrading it, like here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
Cool.
Yeah, I love it.
The entire ride, they put a ton of love and a ton of money into this refurbishment, but those little touches that I really think make the Disney difference, like new props, new lighting, new sound effects. When you put all of those things together, it makes a perfect recipe for a big update that I think every Disney fan is going to love, quite honestly. You know, as much as I hate to say it, it's not often that Disney does something these days where the general consensus is that, yes, this is good. But from what I've seen, everything that Disney has talked about with Big Thunder, I have seen a very positive reaction. Like I mentioned, brand new ride vehicles. Something that I haven't mentioned yet is in the town scene, right before you go up that main lift hill in the middle of the ride. All of those animatronics have been refreshed as well. That was just confirmed by one of Magic Kingdom's lead Imagineers, Wyatt Winter. So before, those kind of felt like static figures because they had been kind of just rotting out in the Florida sun. So those have been fixed, and we're going to see a lot of life in those, and restored effects. So things that have been broken for years, they have put the money into fixing those, and now they're going to hopefully live on for decades. So that is everything that we know about Big Thunder Mountain, except for that reopening date. And again, I will say, follow me on all of my other socials. I've been putting a ton of time into Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, everywhere, trying to cover all these details. So follow me there, and hopefully soon.
And I'll be linking that stuff down below in the description, so it'll make it easier for everybody to sort of just go down there and check out his Twitter, check out his YouTube channel, all that good stuff. So make sure you follow Drew the Disney Dude.
OG, real quick. First thing, here's the thing. I'm not really a Muppets fan. I've always said that, right? But I do love Drew's shirt. Property of Muppets Labs Science Department.
Yeah,
that's great. And the second thing is that he said new trains. That's really exciting because not only are you getting a new track, but you're getting new trains. That's
huge.
That's huge, man. That's like doubly huge, right? And that's not including like the sound effects, right? He's talking about the fresh coat of paints, the now working audio animatronics that they have. I mean, I would just say this. I'm very happy. This is a great upgrade, huge positive win. I would just say this. I hope all this is kept up.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. You got to maintain. But it is refreshing to see that those changes. It's also kind of a relief how close this is to a lot of big changes happening with the car stuff and all that. So the fact that this signals they're serious about keeping it is also great. But you're right, you have to maintain it. You can't let it go.
Hopefully soon we get that reopening date. Now, moving on over to Tomorrowland. What Disney is doing to Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin. This is my #1 most anticipated offering for all of 2026 at Walt Disney World. Now, there are many things that I'm excited about from the manual.
Now, it's interesting. When I watched this video, because I've seen this video once before we did this video. When he said that, I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, really? This is going to be your most, most excited or whatever. And there's a part in here, and I'll tell you when we get to it. But there's a part in here that, for me, actually changes the game when it comes to this attraction. And I don't mean literally the game, but we'll kind of
just the game
changes the game. Well, it kind of actually literally does change the game too, but I mean more figuratively, like where it's like, okay, I like what Disney's kind of doing with this thing, and it's not my favorite attraction, but this particular update was pretty dope. But anyway, we'll let Drew explain it. Go ahead.
So, real quick, and I've always said, right? I'll keep saying it until the day I die. It's all about execution. Right. So whatever concept you have or IP you have, if you can execute that really well, and however that comes out to be, you have a winner on your hands.
Yeah, 100%. And you're never gonna die. We're gonna build a BAPTA tank for you, like Palpatine. And we're gonna have the Weba contingency plan where you're gonna live on forever, brother.
Right, I
know. You and me both, man. We'll have our two BAPTA tanks. It'll be OG and Weba. Yes. We'll be sitting there in the formaldehyde. Just waiting.
Just like
and Grogu and all of the updates coming to Smuggler's Run, to the magic of Disney animation at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and everything else. I don't think it's a shock to anyone who has followed me that I'm usually pretty open-minded and positive when Disney makes a change at the parks. But I have been saying for months now that the updates coming to Buzz are going to be a lot bigger and better than anyone is really realizing. And just a few weeks ago, I uploaded a video talking about all of these changes before Disney shared these recent updates. And I think that video has aged pretty well so far, quite honestly. But today, we got our actual first look at these updates in action. Previously, Disney shared a first look at that brand new scene at the very beginning of the ride with Buddy the robot. Buddy is a support bot and is going to offer a target practice moment as we test out our new handheld blasters. For the first time, a new character created by Pixar and Walt Disney Imagineering. But today, we got an even better look at how these updates are going to play out and how some of these updates are bigger than anyone was anticipating, including myself. Personally, my least favorite scene on the ride before was the airlock space scene, where you would go through the airlock, head into the tunnel, and you would see Zurg in his ship. The problem is that you never knew where to shoot, and the projector was so dim that there was no engagement whatsoever. There was nothing that made me want to interact with that scene. And quite honestly, I think the Imagineers working on this update were well aware of that, because everything with this scene has been fully updated. On the left of the scene, we're going to see a brand new alien figure, a physical alien. And when I saw this, I was like, whoa, like they're actually building new props? They didn't have to do that, but they are. So props to the Imagineers for doing this, and props to whoever funded it.
I I love this part because he's giving props to Disney for adding props. I mean, that's amazing.
Very much intended.
Yes, I love that pun. That is amazing. That was absolutely amazing. But he's right though.
Yeah.
Like where, we talked about it with Big Thunder. They are going above and beyond with that attraction, with the new trains, the new track, all kinds of cool stuff. But even here with Buzz, right? I mean, the physical prop, the whole thing. I think this is really, really cool. And I have been critical of Josh Giamaro in the past. And, there are certain things that I haven't loved about the way he's done things necessarily. But honestly, like when the dude scores a win, he scores a win, and if I'm going to blame him for stuff that for the bad stuff, you also got to blame. I got to give him credit for the good stuff. And this stuff is perfect. And this is the kind of stuff I really want to see. I really want to see them investing in a lot of their older stuff, plussing it, adding to it. I think it's fantastic. So well done.
Yes. No, I agree. And what I would just say on that is, well, first the prop. I think the prop is excellent, awesome. But I would say that we are really in an age now where what we heard about turbocharging the parks.
Yes,
that's happening. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah. No, it is happening. We are seeing it. And there's a lot happening even out here in California, mostly with DCA and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of question marks with a lot of the DCA stuff, but at the end of the day, though, those projects are really going to change the game for that park as well. So, yeah, you're right. Things are ramping up.
We need these little things. The more little things we get, the bigger of an update it is. And that's why I'm so happy and excited for this update. But if you actually look at the lever that the alien is holding onto, you can see that it says open. So that's signaling the alien is opening the emergency escape hatch. And there's a lot more here than at surface value. So I'm going to break down everything and how we got here over the last year and a half, even when we didn't realize it. As we make our way through the airlock and enter the hyperspace scene, that's the official name that Walt Disney Imagineering is saying. They've been working on this for a year and a half. And I point that out because at the very end of 2024, have to give a shout out here to both Blog Mickey and WDW Magic. They reported that permits were filed for new projectors in that scene. And at the time, we were like, well, are they going to do a big update here? But the actual updates weren't announced until March of 2025, months later. So this, at the time, was our first sign that they were actually starting to test this new animation, this new sequence, but we didn't know it yet. And that was confirmed in the video.
So that timeline, right? Think about it. That timeline. They file for a permit, right?
Right.
And then they announce what the project is or details the following year, or like the following year. That means the concept was already in place like a few years prior to that. Which I love. I love that because, and this is what I personally would love to see more of, right? Is we find out more about the details later on in the project, right? Like, cool, like concepts are great. I love concepts, right? But personally, I want to know the details once you're kind of already past the concept stage and already ready to go doing the thing. You
Right.
know, so and it's cool too because I love seeing I love seeing the video here of these Imagineers, on there testing. I mean, how cool would that be, right? OG, you're
Oh,
an
yeah.
Imagineer, right? You get to go on the attraction and play with it, and like that's your job. Like how cool would that be?
Dude, it's like the best job on the planet. It seriously would be the best job on the planet. But now I've never been, because I've been to Walt Disney World once, and that was like
Mhm.
2.5 years ago now. But I don't think we went on Buzz Lightyear. But this scene right here, this is actually the scene I was talking about earlier on in the video that really changed my mind about this attraction, because one of the issues that I have with the one out here in California,
Mhm.
the gun and the targets, everything feels kind of clunky or whatever. Them adding this projected scene with Buzz
Yeah.
flying around and the targets, it adds a level of fluidity in the mix with the physical stuff,
Yeah.
which I think it really makes the attraction like that much better. It's interesting that we're not getting these updates here in California, which is a whole nother can of worms. We'll kind of maybe dip upon that a little bit with the
Yeah.
next topic with Tomorrowland. But I think that the projection scene in this really does change the flavor of the attraction. And I love that
Yeah.
because the mixed media, it gives that mixed media vibe. That's kind of like what I love about the Alice in Wonderland updates too, out here in our Fantasyland in California, where it was like you go in there, they have the physical props, but they also have like the projections with, like, you see like the White Rabbit in cartoon form
Oh yeah.
running,
Mhm.
right? They did that with Snow White. There's a lot of mixed media. I like that they did that for this. So that I think that little part right there actually changes
Mhm.
my perception of this attraction. Go ahead, brother.
Well, and I think too, it just gives a more like great visual flair. Like there's some action happening right around you. I really like that having the physical sets plus digital, like the combination of both technologies really play well hand in hand when used properly, of course. But we've seen a lot of that where it's done very well together. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, because like Tokyo, they completely got rid of their Buzz Lightyear ride, and
Right.
they're getting they're replacing it with Wreck-It Ralph, which is actually very a interesting route they're going. But I'm like, okay, well, let's see it, let's see how it turns out. But yeah, I'm really happy for Walt Disney World that they're getting upgrades, because also, if I'm correct, people who are watching in the chat, um, I believe that Walt Disney World's Buzz Lightyear didn't have the detachable guns like we do. Theirs were stationary on the actual vehicle.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, so that's a big difference, at least as far as I'm aware, from ours to theirs. Also, what I like about theirs too is that, again, they're with like we talked about with Big Thunder, a original concept. They brought a original character that was collaboration from Imagineers and Pixar. Buddy,
Yeah.
that's
Very,
great. I
very
like
cool.
that.
Yeah, that's awesome. We actually, speaking of Buddy, it kind of reminds me out here like in LA, Hollywood area.
Mhm.
We have, and it's actually kind of creeping into my hometown too a little bit, but there's a lot of these like automated robots that like deliver
Oh,
things.
oh, gee, we saw those. Remember, we were coming back from our car chat drive, and
Yes.
we saw one of those, and I was like, "Yo!" I was like, "Look at that!" I was so excited to see it.
That's right. We did. We saw it, right? It's crazy. And they're just rolling down the sidewalk, and they got these big like headlights. They look like eyes, basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick, dude. It's pretty sick.
It,
We're
it,
living in the future.
well, it was cool
You
because
know?
we were turning. You're about to turn in, and it stops because it was going to cross, but it stopped and waited for you to go, which was really cool technology, right? I love that. But I also want to add it too with Buddy. This, because it's a new original character designed for the attraction. Guess what that means? They could potentially put Buddy in a Toy Story movie.
That would be cool. That
You know,
cross pollination
exactly.
of the
You know,
flywheel. I love it. I love it.
From Imagineering that they have spent a year and a half kind of mapping out this scene and making sure that the media is the best as possible. Now, one of the animators from Pixar who actually worked on the original Toy Story films, which is so cool that it's kind of like a full circle moment, working on these characters in the movies and then bringing them to life in 2026 on a ride that's been here for decades is that, you know, when you think about a movie, they're normally animating for a flat screen, whether you're watching it in a movie theater at the time of release or watching it on your TV or laptop years later when they're available on demand, but that's a flat surface. But in the ride, it's a dome. So they actually created a mapping pattern to allow them to animate to where they were animating in a flat way, but then once it's projected, it curves perfectly. And I just think that's brilliant that they have the technology now to be able to create a new software which allows them to create things more efficiently, but the final product, we would never know that those things are going on behind the scenes. So it's a really cool look into the actual process of making this new.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And that kind of thing, like designing the animation for the curves, the curvatures, all that stuff, that kind of stuff is something that you're not going to like consciously be aware of. But when you see the final product, which we're looking at right now, right, where it makes a difference. Like I'm watching that scene, I'm going, wow, this looks really, really good. This looks really clean and crisp and legit. I didn't know why. I couldn't tell you why, but it just does. It's little details like that, the animation, how they do it, the attention to detail, which makes it more impressive, which, you know.
Well, and again, OG, this is why they're Imagineers, right? This is the type of quality and creativity and, you know, ingenuity that, you know, we see these group of Imagineers do, you know. And I think it's awesome, right? You try to find creative ways to have solutions to things such as this, right? Okay, how do we get around this? How do we put this up there without making it look janky? You know, what's the ways we can do it to make it look good, right? How do we do that? And yes, of course, you know, now we have a lot of technology to use, which is great, but, you know, they had to create a technology that allowed them to be able to do that. So even if you don't have the technology, then they still have to come up with new things to solve the problems for modern day stuff. You know, so it's like that is great. Well, I love hearing that.
Yeah, me too. And I've always said, because Imagineering has gotten a lot of heat over the past few years. You know, a lot of people say this younger generation of Imagineers, they don't have the same kind of creativity as the older generations, and I've consistently pushed back against that because I believe the creativity was never the issue with Imagineering. I think it was always more budgetary restraints and what have you. Because if you look at a lot of like the Tokyo stuff or the stuff overseas, I mean, these Imagineers, this younger group of Imagineers are killing it. Like that Zootopia over there in Shanghai is dope, you know? So it was never the talent, you know what I'm saying? At least in my opinion. So, yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. But I hope though with the turbocharging of course it's parks worldwide, but I really hope for, you know, our domestic parks such as Walt Disney World and Disneyland. I really hope to see that turbocharged investment really come to fruition domestically.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Actually, as of at the time of this recording, I should be getting my mics. I'm getting updated mics for we do bar chats here, you know, Mr. Webb. We do the bar chats here at OG55, and I'm stepping up my game when it comes to the mics, because the mics I have now are like $20 on Amazon, but I got like better mics, so I'm officially turbocharging my bar chats. So everybody,
turbocharging the bar chats. I love it.
we're turbocharging the bar chats. Stay tuned for that.
Animation, which not only looks visually beautiful, but actually, again, to my point earlier, makes this more interactive of a scene for us when we're riding it.
Yeah.
As we make our way throughout the scene, Buzz Lightyear is going to be joining us for the first time, and it's funny, I never really thought about before that we're battling Zurg without Buzz, but now that's been fixed. So that was kind of a story gap, but now it's full, it's whole, which is awesome. And again, bringing Buzz back to life in new animation exclusive for Magic Kingdom. I love that. The fact that effort is being made, it's such a simple detail, but again, like I said earlier, the more little updates you make, the bigger impact you have overall. Another update that I love here is that Zurg's ship, which we did have before, is a lot more prominent now. It's a lot easier to see where you're supposed to be focused on, to where your eye naturally goes to it, And Zerg's ship is also going to be spitting out these targets to where you know exactly where to shoot. Now, the targets are going to be digital, projected on the dome screen, but they're big, they're prominent, they're easy to see. Also, a perfect way to increase your score throughout that scene. Now, on the point of scoring, before Disney has talked about the real-time scoring updates on the ride vehicles, and in this clip that was just shared from Good Morning America, basically what Disney means by real-time scoring is that as you are ranking up your score throughout the game, going from 0 to 100,000 to 200,000 and beyond, you're going to be able to see your rank in real time. So the highest rank of Galactic Hero is still here, but everything below that, as you're progressing throughout, you're going to be able to see exactly where you are on the scoring chart, which I think is cool because it's going to motivate you to get a higher score. It's kind of rewarding to look at the screen and, oh, well, I'm not at the top score yet. I want to get that. And it kind of reminds me over at Toy Story Mania how you kind of get an animal prize. Here, there's like an actual symbol for your prize. It's not just a name, but there's a little badge, you could say, of what you're doing, how well you're doing. And that's just so neat. So
yeah, that is pretty cool. And it seems like with the projections and what he's saying here with the scoring and all that, they're taking what they learned from like Midway Mania. Yeah. And they're kind of weaving that stuff into this attraction, which I think is really, really smart.
Well, and again, that's what's cool, right? Is, you know, and this, I think this goes for any type of company or group of people in the entertainment sphere, right? You create something and it's good, right? But then you either create something else or you redo something you've done on another project and take what you learned from this other project and apply it to that to make it even better.
Yeah.
And that sounds like that's what they did here. So
no, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's actually one of the things that I talked to Tommy Toon about actually with Universal recently on a recent video, because we were talking about like the 2026 event calendar for Universal, right? And we got into like Fan Fest. And one of the things that I thought was really smart that Universal's doing is when it comes to Fan Fest is they're taking what they learned from like HHN, like those mazes and what have you. They learned a lot through the years of doing those kind of mazes, and now they're taking that stuff and that knowledge and they're repurposing it into like nerdy mazes, you know?
Yes.
And I think that's really, really cool. But it's like the same kind of idea where they're taking stuff they've learned along the way and they're kind of like reimagining it, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's pretty dope.
And I like that, OG, because it shows and tells me that they're always thinking about how can we improve things. And as a fan, as someone that loves this stuff, I do love seeing that. I love seeing that there's still activity, even though we may not know it, there's still rumblings and discussions and planning of like, hey, how can we make this thing better? What can we add to it? What can we add to this that we learned from this other thing over here? What new techniques how we developed or technologies? I love knowing that at least those discussions and plannings are still being had, even though we don't know them.
Yeah, no, well said.
A scene before that had nothing to offer is now something that I'm looking forward to very much because you have the targets, you have Zerg, you have Buzz. It makes it a lot more engaging. And the reason why we're going into that tunnel makes a lot more sense when you can actually see the alien opening it. Before, I just quite honestly think he got overlooked and had absolutely no impact on the ride experience. And I have to mention again that Buzz is getting a major update that for some reason no one is talking about. Like, I always laugh when Disney and Walt Disney Imagineering will very specifically say something to put it out into the news cycle for us to get excited about what they're doing, right? All the work that they're doing, especially when Walt Disney Imagineering is so secretive. For years, people will say, we want details on this. And then they'll give those details to us and no one acknowledges it. And I always think that that's funny. But thankfully, I'm going to acknowledge it.
No, and that's what I love about Drew. And that's what I love about Drew, because he's been on this channel and we've discussed those things that a lot of that the fan community isn't really discussing. And I mentioned it earlier on in this video where it's like the complaints are really, really loud, but the compliments aren't, right? A lot of times Disney's dropping a lot of cool information and the fandom is like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's like, no, we gotta look. when it comes to complaining, that's fine. You have to let Disney know when you're upset, and you have to let them know, hey, this didn't work out, whatever. We don't like this idea. It's always good to be vocal, but you also have to be vocal and applaud them when they do good. They want, it's good to have feedback for both sides of that equation. And I think far too often, I think Drew is right, where it's like the fandom sort of sleeps on the good stuff. And we shouldn't be doing that. Applaud them. Let's motivate Disney to do more good stuff. And the way you do that is showing up and saying, hey, look, you know what? You did good, Disney.
Well, and also I'll say this too. Constant negative feedback isn't great for motivation. I'll just put it like that.
And I completely agree. It's like if you have like any kind of like if for my job, right? I have a regular 9-to-5 job. And thankfully I have a really cool boss, so she's not really like that, but there are a lot of supervisors in like the corporate world, like office jobs, whatever it is, where it's like, it's a lot of negative feedback where it's like, it kills like the morale and it kills like the whole thing, right? You need to have a balance of this stuff, whether it be like whatever it is, and the balance will also guide Disney much, much better.
Yeah.
Because if they know what we like, if they know what we like and they know the positives and they know the negatives, they can better guide this ship. But like if they're only hearing negative, and the other thing too, when it comes to just being negative all the time, they label the fans as kind of crazy. Like, oh, I don't know. I don't really, hey, they don't like anything, so we're not going to listen to them. And we don't want to get to a point as a fandom where Disney kind of tunes us out because they think, they don't like anything. We have to be fair and applaud when they do good and criticize when not so good.
I 100% agree.
The brand new gameplay modes coming to this ride. And now, new gameplay modes means that throughout the year, it's not going to be the same. We're going to have a unique experience, a reason to re-ride this attraction. We don't have the exact specifics on what those gameplay modes are going to entail. As of now, it's being kept under wraps, and it might be revealed before the ride reopens if we get lucky. Maybe that's something we're just going to discover going on the ride for the first time, and hopefully I get to discover it so I can share that with all of you. But when rides are re-rideable, and it gives people a reason to come back on them and make more memories and have those unique experiences, that is something that I think makes Disney so unique and is a very good reason to update these rides. As Disney is spending money on these rides, they want to make a return on investment. They want people visiting the parks. So when you're making a ride re-rideable, by updating it with a new scene, interactive targets, handheld blasters, new ride vehicles, real-time scoring, new animation, all of these updates, but you're also adding scoring changes to where you can get above 1 million points for the first time ever. You can experience these gameplay modes through the interactive targets. It's more inclusive and accessible for someone with a disability and for kids. This entire update is a home run. So yes, it's getting a lot of attention, which I'm happy to see because I love this ride and I'm going to love it even more once it reopens. But I think that there's a lot more here than anyone's been talking about. So that's why I do these videos, is to really
dive into them,
do a deep dive, highlight everything.
So that's very interesting. Different gameplay modes. That for me, that's a first for a theme park game like attraction. I will say though, OG, me and you talk about this all the time, vibes and rides, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm a rides guy, so I will keep going on a ride over and over with the same story. It doesn't bother me. Like if I enjoy the story, I enjoy the adventure, then I just keep going on. It doesn't bother me. However, I think when it comes to more video game-like attractions like Toy Story Midway Mania, but it's like just Astro Blaster, or even like kind of like Smuggler's Run, because it's anything that's interactive, right? I consider it to be a game-like. Even though there is a story to it, you're still having that interaction. And at least personally for me, I feel that's where you would want the more of the differences to have that replayability.
I agree.
In the game, so replayability, rewritability. And I think not only did the Imagineering come in here like, okay, we're gonna add this thing, figure how to add the Zerg and Buzz Lightyear. Oh yeah, we are finally going to have detachable guns. We're going to add a big old cute prop of the green alien. We're going to add in an original character. Oh, the scoring system, we're going to update that too. And oh, guess what? Different game modes like that. I mean, that's a whole refresh of the attraction, basically. I mean,
Yeah,
how
no,
can you not like that?
they're going all in on this. All in on this attraction, all in on Big Thunder with the new trains, the new track,
Yeah.
the new effects, all that stuff. So, yeah, this is fantastic news. I love it all around.
Everything about them, and that's what I love very much. So if you watch these videos, thank you. I do appreciate it. Now, the big thing that we're still waiting for is, when is it reopening? When is Big Thunder Mountain reopening? When is Buzz reopening? And I think if we get lucky, Disney will reopen both of these attractions on the same day. Now, the reason why I think that's a possibility is because it would allow for a big marketing push from their return on investment standpoint, getting people to visit Magic Kingdom when you can offer two big attractions rather than one, and that the park really needs this capacity. You know, over in Frontierland, we have Cars under construction, the Villains Land under construction, and those aren't going to be open for years. So when it comes to, again, Magic Kingdom being the world's most visited theme park, what better way to promote this park and have a better guest experience by spreading the crowds throughout the park by having two attractions reopen on the same day? Not guaranteed or confirmed by any means, but that's my personal hope. We are likely going to get a 2-month heads up on these reopenings. So as of now that we're approaching mid-January and those dates haven't been announced yet, I'm expecting late March or early April. Again, speculation, but my hope is that by the latest, they open in the first week of April. I think that'd be a perfect reopening time frame to get these attractions back on track, pun intended. So let me know what you think. Curious on your thoughts. And again, please subscribe here. A ton on the way from me.
So yeah, make sure you subscribe to Drew the Disney Dude. I'll be linking his channel and his social media down below. Drew is a friend of the channel. He makes great content. I love the passion that he brings to the community and his updates. Really, really cool guy. So make sure you follow Drew the Disney Dude right here. All right, so now let's move on to, this is courtesy of WDW News Today. Okay, this is interesting. Now, Tomorrowland's a crazy topic, you know, for Disneylanders, because this has been like, you know, an ongoing saga for us for a long time. But plans to reimagine Disneyland's Tomorrowland were turned down. Okay, this is interesting. A recent Wall Street Journal feature on WDI, Walt Disney Imagineering, reveals that there were plans to, there's an ad. I don't want to get like copyrighted. A recent Wall Street Journal feature on Walt Disney Imagineering reveals that there were plans to refurbish Tomorrowland in Disneyland, but Disney executives deemed it not worth the investment. Now, we'll go further down the article, but I've been saying this for such a long time. I've gotten on video after video. I think I even talked about it recently on a video or something. I think it, like, just maybe like last week. Tomorrowland still packs people in. It's still busy. You have Astro Blasters, which is still pretty popular, Star Tours, which is popular, Space Mountain, which is incredibly popular, even the Nemo subs. You got Autopia. There's a lot of attractions that are still packing people in. This land is always bottlenecked with people everywhere. There's not a whole lot of incentive from Disney's perspective, as a, you know, we talked about return on investment and stuff earlier with, you know, with the Drew segment. There's not a lot of incentive for that return on investment when people are really still going into this land in droves. Now, as a nerd, as a Disney fan, we want a new Tomorrowland because we feel aesthetically it's not a cohesive area anymore. It's a hodgepodge, band-aided sort of version of like multiple decades of Tomorrowland, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, from Disney's perspective, you're looking at this going, well, people are still going here in droves. Now, look, to be fair, I mean, there are some things like the Star Wars launch bay, which is sitting empty, the People Mover track, which is like just basically, you know, kind of deteriorating. There are stuff that you do that I think Disney should address, but by and large, what is the incentive to go in here and bulldoze this thing when people are going in droves? But what say you, Webba, before we kind of dive into the deeper meat of the article?
Right. So to your point, as you were saying, that this park still packs people, and it does. So as a hardcore fan base and everybody in the hardcore Disney fan community circle, we see, the things we would like to see improved or redone, right? But your average normie Disney, like normie fan or just normie who probably doesn't really care about Disney, they're just taking their family there. They go to Tomorrowland. Oh, look, cool. A ride with rockets. Oh, look, cool. A Star Wars ride. Cool. A Buzz Lightyear ride, right? Space Mountain. Uh, these are things that still attract the regular everyday guest.
Right.
These everyday guests aren't thinking about, oh man, I wish they would bring back the People Mover. Oh, I wish that there was something done with the launch bay. Oh, I wish there was something done about the Magic Eye Theater. They're not thinking about those things. Us nerds are, and we're very vocal about it for sure. But your everyday guests, they don't think about it, and we can see it because it's still packed. I go there. The Astro Orbiter, packed with the line. Buzz Lightyear, lines all around the corner. Space Mountain, obviously great ride. 65-minute wait. Star Tours, 45-minute wait. Autopia, 45-minute wait, 35-minute wait. So all these rides still pack bodies. So like you said, there's no like incentive for in terms of capacity wise. Why should we redo it? People keep going. Now we've seen this before, where Disney did invest in a land because it wasn't holding its weight. That was Toontown, and look what we got from Toontown. An excellent area of the park. Like I love our Toontown now. Before
Right.
you had a barren, bleak green hills in the back, right? Very, the green was kind of turning ugly.
Yeah.
On that, right? Very weathered. The Jolly Trolley wasn't running anymore, unfortunately. Um, the paints and stuff was kind of coming off some of the stuff. It's very hot there, a lot of cement, and not like how it is now with like you have the grass where people can sit down and chill, right? And like the music that we have now, so much better as
Oh,
well.
I
I mean,
agree.
everything about it was just better. We only had 2 attractions, now we have 3. So, and when that part of Toontown, I like Toontown because Gadget's Go Coaster is a long time to wait, but it's fun. I love Roger Rabbit. I love that IP, so I always went there for Roger Rabbit. But I never really went there for anything else. Actually, the last time when me and my mom, and my brother went to Toontown, because that was their first time seeing the new version of Toontown. And we went to Cafe Daisy. We got this food. We sat on the grass area in front of Roger Rabbit. We just chilled in the shade. It was nice. We're just relaxing, eating our food,
Wow.
having a good time, relaxing. You're hearing like the Disney afternoon cartoon music playing, right? It was great, man. Back in the day, Old Toontown, you couldn't do that. You're just sitting out inside in the bench, just getting
Oh
burned up
yeah.
to a crisp.
No, and
Uh,
that's one of the things I think they really did well with this refurb of Toontown
Mm.
was adding a lot more shade. That's
yeah.
also one big problem that Super Nintendo World over there at Universal is going to have to address.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
it's a cool little land, but it gets hot. I mean, I get it; they want to be accurate, so they don't really have real trees in there.
Yeah.
But those big mushrooms don't really cut it. And then when you have yellow paint on the ground, when that sun hits that yellow paint, it just slaps you right in the face. Like that sun is just on you the whole time. It's a very uncomfortable land to be in during the day. It's way better at night.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh.
but even with Toontown though, you brought up a great point, Webba, where it's like there was massive incentive though to
Mhm.
do that because the new Mickey Mouse shorts
Yeah.
with that new Mickey style has been enormously popular and very lucrative for Disney. Like that version of Mickey,
Mhm.
it just crushes it with the merchandise and all this stuff. So for them, they saw, okay, a huge return on investment. We can put the new Mickey in Toontown and really just, kick butt with merch and getting people back in there. I mean, it really made a whole lot of sense, adds a huge amount of capacity. When it comes to Tomorrowland, though, they don't really have an IP that they can really push. And I know it's not always about IP, but with a
Yeah.
corporation like the size of Disney, it is. And so I mean, Fantastic Four would have been great, but that movie didn't really perform, I think, to what they really wanted to. There's not a whole lot of like space or futuristic IP they can really put in here. I mean,
Yeah.
Big Hero 6, I mean, would be cool, but you already kind of have that over there at DCA. Wally is kind of like a beautiful movie, but like, is it like a draw right now? I don't really think so. There's not a whole lot to choose from.
Well, and it's to what you were saying though, having that Mickey and Minnie's the new attraction, that was the incentive for them to like, okay, well, at least I'm just guessing. I don't know. But what it looks like is they have the new attraction that they put in Walt Disney World. Now let's bring it here to Disneyland. Oh, it'll fit in Toontown. Perfect. No, then that probably gave them the excuse to close down all of Toontown and hey, let's redo the entire thing, which I actually
Right.
like. And I would not be surprised if they do, well, once they do finally tackle Tomorrowland, if they do a similar thing. Um, However, here's the only thing though, OG, is because Toontown was easier because it's kind of like in the back and there's no other connectivity to the other part of the park.
True.
Tomorrowland is connected to the hub and to Fantasyland. So if they were to do Tomorrowland that way, that'd be very hard. I mean, I would only guess you would have to probably do it by sections, maybe, because that, right? I mean, unless it becomes like Toontown, where the old Toontown, where no one was going in there. I like going there, but you look at Toontown, no one was going in there. You know,
Yeah.
right now Toontown's still drawing bodies, and all of a sudden you just close it down. Now you're losing capacity on like 5 attractions.
Yeah, no, you're right. You would have to approach Tomorrowland differently. I think you would have to do it in pieces. We're kind of seeing a piecemeal revamp of New Orleans,
Yes, yeah, we are.
multi-year. Kim Irvine, who did a great job renovating, I think, in my opinion, a great job renovating like Club 33 and expanding it with the lounge and all that stuff. That was several years ago. But then we got obviously Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We also got the Tiana Palace, the new restaurant. We also got that Pelican Landing area over there by Harbor Gallery.
Oh yeah.
So over the last like decade or so, they've been like going area by area. Oh, and the new Haunted Mansion queue changes, right?
Yep.
Things have been changing. So with Tomorrowland, I think you would see something very similar. Maybe they'd work on the back end, put like a nice big attraction where like the launch bay is, kind of work on that section. When that's done, they'd work, move around.
Gee, and another example of this. So we had it with Toontown, and this goes back to your point though. We have it Toontown, right? You have a new ride, you redo the entire land. Well, even though this was a redone of a ride already there, from Splash to Tiana, guess what they did? They redid from Critter Country to now Bayou Country, and they also then changed the name and redid the menu for Hungry Bear.
Yes, exactly.
So there's a pattern here that we're seeing.
Yes,
100%.
100%.
Fresh attraction, incentive, let's change up the land, right? Or redo the land.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So the article goes on to continue. It says rumors of a large refurbishment of Tomorrowland in Disneyland have existed since 2019, which is around the time we got that concept art in the front of the land, which is still there today. Actually, it was crazy when word broke out of a multi-year $600 million reimagining of the entire land with a completion estimate of 2025-26. The rumor persisted into 2022 when it was expected to be the headline announcement at that year's D23. That's crazy. I remember all the Tomorrowland rumors and Mice Chat. Everybody was talking about it. Disneyland's Tomorrowland has been in a state of steady decay for years, peppered with defunct attraction and empty spaces following a series of new Tomorrowland update attempts, including a failed 1998 steampunk retheme that saw Space Mountain painted brown and the return of the 1967 inspired details in 2020. I remember I was in this community. I've been, like I said, all the time. I've been in the Disney community since like AOL dial-up, like literally since the news group, the AOL news group days. Okay, like way back in the day. And I remember how controversial this Space Mountain whole thing was. And now I personally don't think it looks that bad. I think it looks kind of cool in a way, but man, I'm telling you, the fans were not happy about that when that thing hit. It was, yeah.
I actually wanted to tell you, OG, back to when the concept art came out, right? And we have to go back again, with Walt Disney Imagineering. Folks, fans, people at home watching this, I think it's kind of obvious, right, OG? WI, they want to do this. It's clear they want to do this. They know they have to do this.
Right.
And it's because you look at it, right? I mean, they're people and fans just like we are. I mean, I see the fans all the time complaining, why aren't they doing Tomorrowland? Why aren't they doing Tomorrowland? oh, they know they want to they want to do Tomorrowland. They know they want to or have to do Tomorrowland. But there's only so many things that they can do to make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know when that will be or when they are able to do it. Hopefully, I'm hoping by like a 2030 announcement sometime for like the 2030s, we can get like a new Tomorrowland. I would love to see that after like all the DCA and like kind of Disneyland Forward stuff is kind of settling in.
Yeah.
But I mean, they are thinking about it, right? I'm sure they have plenty of concepts for a redone Tomorrowland.
Yeah, well, and you're right. I mean, right now is the 5-year DCA plussing, which I fully support that. I think that
Yeah.
that's really I think DCA really needs like a big investment and they're
It
getting it.
does.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen a big investment in DCA really since 2012 with Cars Land and World of
Yep.
Color and Buena Vista Street. So it's definitely been a long time so they're making the right decision right now with DCA. Yeah, you're right though. Maybe going into like the 2030s, you can maybe dip into Tomorrowland. Now, good friend of the channel, Hey Bricky, did a video on Tomorrowland kind of recently, talking about the challenges though of doing a new Tomorrowland in that like the people mover track and all this stuff is so interwoven and connected. Like
It is.
the people mover track is in and of itself like a headache and a half because it goes through like Star Tours,
Space
Mountain, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then you have things like that people don't even realize. Autopia and the submarines is a whole nother mess.
It is.
That's all woven together. And then you have the old people mover track weaved in and the monorail. That whole area is probably even crazier. So I think a lot of this logistical stuff is also what's kind of, when Disney's looking at this going, look at all the hoops we have to go through to update this land.
Yeah.
Is it worth it if it's packed right now? You know what I'm saying?
Well, and again, back to your point of the incentive, right? What incentive do we have to go through the hassle and huge finance budget to do this? There has to be something to justify to them to be like, okay, this will be worth it to close it down and to redo the whole thing. Right now, as you pointed out, there isn't. I mean, even from a fan perspective, you look at it, it's packed all the time.
Right.
There is no incentive, really.
There's no incentive. Exactly. It says here the people mover / rocket rod track still stretches over the land's entrance, although vehicles haven't traveled on it since 2000. Okay. I mean, we're talking 26 years. I mean, almost as long as Theme Park Wizard has been on this planet, this thing has been shut down. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? The Tomorrowland Theater, formerly the Magic Eye Theater, has not had a regular attraction since the Captain EO tribute, which closed in 2014 after a limited 4-year engagement, which, by the way, I love Captain EO. It's like the greatest pop star of all time, Michael Jackson, mixed with like that Star Wars lived in kind of a galaxy. I just think that's absolutely brilliant. And the Star Wars launch bay, which occupied the former Intervention space, closed in 2020 and has not reopened. The Wall Street Journal feature confirms that the rumors were not unfounded. Okay, so it was, and Wall Street Journal's reporting on it. It's legit, and that Imagineering did indeed have plans to refurbish the aging land. However, the plans were put forth during the short-lived tenure of CEO Bob Chapek, when due to budget cuts and limited manpower, senior park executive lost trust in Imagineering. See, this is the thing though. Lost trust in Imagineering. I don't think Imagineering was the problem. I'll just say that much.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I'll just say that much. I think there were other things going on with that. I'll just say that. But it says here, proposals by Imagineers to refurbish Disneyland aging Tomorrowland were also turned down as executives calculated it wouldn't do enough to increase attendance. See, that's interesting. I don't necessarily, it's weird. I kind of don't disagree with that. I mean, because it kind of depends on what you do, obviously. Now, look, if they bring back the people mover, for example, right? I do think that would be a fan hit, like for the nerds, like in our space.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, it would be huge for like our little, fandom diehard bubble. But like you mentioned earlier on, Webba, does the soccer mom care about that? Like, is a soccer mom with 4 kids, is she clamoring to get her kids on the People Mover? I
No,
don't know. Is that enough for her? Is that enough for people from Japan to book a vacation here in Anaheim?
no.
I don't know. So I can kind of see, and I know this is not the popular opinion with fans, but I can kind of see Disney's point a little bit with this. I don't know. I mean, and again, it all depends on what they would have done. But see, it kind of comes back to the IP though.
Right.
If
Well,
you
and
had a big IP, you could justify it probably more, right?
that goes to my question is when you say refurbished, what are you really talking about? Are you talking about just like a new coat of paint or architectural style and leaving everything the way it is? Or are you talking about fully refurbishing the land with like new attractions, redone attractions, right? And new style is like all across the board. Kind of like with Toontown, right? Is that what you're talking about? Or is it just like, yeah, we're kind of fix things and new coat of paint and call it a day? So
Yeah.
so if it's that, then I can see the point. Okay, it's not worth doing so. But if we're
Right.
talking about there's a plan to do like a Toontown kind of style of refurbishment, then I can see that being a crowd drawer. But like I said, besides the hardcore fans, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, the People Mover, it's not really like a Disney thing the soccer mom or the average normie looks for. They don't.
No.
I'm sorry, they don't. I know the fans are going to scream at me and say I hate you. I get it, but they're not going to.
True. That's
You
true.
know. However, for the time being, here's 2 things on my wish list I wish that we still had currently going in the meantime before we get this refurbishment that I think are possible. Number 1 is I wish that the Magic Eye Theater was back in full use for the guests. I say that because 1, you have a additional attraction open, which then opens up more guests or park capacity. 2, even though Launch Bay has been and Interventions has been a very debatable and likable, unlikable thing going on there. I wish it was more used for the everyday guests with something. Put something in there that could be like it's not permanent, but like semi-permanent. Something of good quality. Put in there that the everyday guests, can still go in there and enjoy, whether it's like a show or some little attraction or something. Something that we can just go in there and increase guest capacity, right? And I'm talking about the current state of today's Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I would love a whole refresh of Tomorrowland, and I think we all would. But as of now, the normies, it's facts. They don't really care about that.
No, they don't. I don't think they really care. I really don't. I mean, I think like a lot of the stuff that the fans want, like the People Mover, would be cool for us.
Yeah.
I just don't think normal like the typical family would really care at that much, And you also have to understand too, the People Mover now has been gone. Like I joked about how the People Mover has been gone as long as Theme Park Wizard has been on this planet. Okay.
Yeah.
I joked about that, but I mean, but Wizard is like, he's pushing 30. Okay.
Yeah.
Now he's pushing 30 and he hasn't really known at Disneyland with the People Mover. Right.
Right.
A lot of people are in that same situation though.
Yeah.
So the nostalgia of this attraction, sadly, is sort of fizzling out because a lot of people, I mean, if you're Wizard's age, if you're 30, you're 29, 30 years old, you don't even remember this thing.
No.
So maybe the older people like me, people in their 50s or 60s or older, yeah, we all remember it. We're nostalgic. But if you're 35 or 30 and younger,
yeah,
you probably don't have that same feeling for it. You really weren't around for it,
Exactly. So your generation is going to have the nostalgic, how should I put it, love for this attraction.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I mean, and is your life any different? Would your life be different with a People Mover being there? I mean, I guess because you go on it, but you're not missing out on anything that you know of.
No, exactly. Exactly. It's wild. Now it says here the death of the much anticipated Tomorrowland project marked a time in which Imagineers found themselves constantly scrutinized and forced by budgetary restraints. When suddenly the dream Disney job wasn't fun anymore, said Theron Skis, an Imagineer for 23 years who left in 2020. Yeah. So the whole Chapek era thing was crazy. Also I do think there was, look, I don't think Chapek handled a lot of that stuff great. But I do think a lot of it also was not necessarily all him, to be fair. There was that, the pandemic and what have you, and the company was going through massive issues at that time. So look, I know it's really trendy just to like pile on and just, Chapek bad, I get it. But I do think there were other external factors that were not just about Chapek that were ruining the whole situation. But I do believe now they're coming out of that. We got Bruce Vaughn back. We got Joe Rohde back as at least a consultant. It does seem like Imagineering is kind of getting back on track. The Lake Nona thing, I guess, got canceled. That's no longer happening. That was a huge point of contention for a lot of Imagineers. A lot of Californian Imagineers did not want to move to Lake Nona for a variety of reasons, whether it be their kids are in school out here in Cali or political reasons or whatever the case may be. That caused a lot of issues with that. So that's been canceled. So, it's interesting, but Tomorrowland, like Webb and I have laid out, as nerds, we want it so bad, but we can kind of make the case as to why maybe it hasn't been done yet, because it's not so cut and dry. It's a very complicated situation, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But I mean, eventually it'll get done. It's just,
I mean, here's the thing, OG. I'm just happy to know, and as I stated before, that they did have plans to, refurbish this land, because they know at some point they're going to have to do it, right? And it's not just about having to do it. They see this stuff that we see, right? Because obviously they're fans, we're fans. They see the stuff that could be improved or redone or added. And it's like what you said before. It all just comes down really to budgets. If you're always getting pushback, and this for any company, right? If you're always getting pushback for a product or whatever the product may be, like digital, physical, and you can't really implement your vision into said products because of budgetary constraints, it's never going to come to fruition. And and like you were saying earlier, these overseas parks don't really have that issue, and I just kind of wish domestically we kind of have that kind of same freedom that they had to do those bigger projects. But I really do think, though, with the turbocharging of the parks and experiences, I do think Tomorrowland will be a thing coming in the future for sure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Mr. Webba, before we get out of here, I do want to promote our friend of the channel, Miss Mimi Fan. Mimi does a lot of like travel and lifestyle content, and she also does our amazing outro here on the channel. Make sure you support Miss Mimi Fan. Information in the description down below. But she goes to all these great spots, whether it be in OC or LA. A lot of great food spots. So for any cool recommendations, whether it be places like this, Middle East food or Vietnamese food, Korean barbecue, whatever it may be, Mimi is your girl. Again, link in the description, her information in the description down below. Mr. Webba, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Well, OG, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Big shout out to OG55, and also I want to give a huge shout out to Drew, the Disney dude. Excellent video he did covering both the Big Thunder Mountain and the Buzz Lightyear attractions. Great stuff. Great dude. Go check him out. Like and subscribe. But yeah, OG, again, I appreciate you having me on. Great topics, great discussions. You can find me on all social media platforms at Mr. Webba91. You can also find me right here on Orange Grove 55.
There he is, Mr. Webba. You can find him here on OG55. He does a lot of great content for us here at OG55, right, with gaming and all that nerdy stuff. We actually have a really cool concept for a show, possibly a series. We'll see how it turns out, right? With the well, I don't want to ruin it, but we talked about it earlier today, which I think will be really fun. So it'd be really fun, kind of like video / series that we're working on. But I want to thank everybody at home for watching this episode of OG 55. And until the next time, see you later.
Thank you so much for watching OG55. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and become a member today.